I go back and forth too, because it's just like, I do want to, conduct myself in a way that I'm proud of and like, is respectful as well. But yeah, there's that little part of me that's like, I do kind of want to just like middle finger to the haters. And
Shelby Houlihan in person.
yes,
What an honor to visit with the American record holder. And I have to say, this is a fabulously wondrous occasion because you're a free woman finally. And the last time we talked, it was in the midst of your layoff. It was a heart-wrenching story. I want everyone to go back and listen to that first podcast with Shelby, where we recap the an athlete racing at the peak of their career and then having this completely shocking and surprising positive test, the ordeal that you went through, the injustice of the doping system, guilty until proven innocent. Have you guys learned that in school? No, I don't think so. I think it was the other way around in America. Yeah. I want to start with your post that you put up on January 15th, where you said, I feel a sense of relief, happiness, and pride now that your 4 years is up. You're ready to come back. But you're also has feelings of anger and sadness.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that kind of sums it up. I like being able to like finally be done with the band and free. It's like this kind of weight off my shoulders. And happy that I can like really get back to doing what I love and be free and not have to like always feel like, oh, do I need to check and make sure I can do this or that? And so it just feels nice to not have to ask permission for things.
Oh, right. Because it's when you're not able to compete, you're also not able to engage with things like coach, training partners, and all that.
Yeah, and it's like pretty nuanced, right? So it's like you can
have a hamburger.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like I can do like little local road races that aren't like USATF affiliated or things like that. So like there was like you can do some things, but you can't do other things, and it was really a gray line of like what that exactly is. And I, trying to like reach out, and every time I wanted to do something, I'm emailing just like, hey, this is what I want to do. Is this okay? And, it's, you don't always get a straight answer, which was frustrating because I'm like, I'm actually like really trying to follow the rules. Just like, tell me if I can or can't do this. So it's, that was kind of hard to navigate. I'm happy I don't have to do that anymore. And I have a lot of, I guess like I do feel like really proud that I made it through, and like I am proud of how I handled it and everything. But again, like I'm still really, really mad that I have a lot of anger when I think about like having to go through it in the first place. Sad that I'm like still grieving everything that I lost and like what could have been. So there's just, there's a whole lot of different emotions associated with it. But really trying to focus on the positive and be excited to come back.
Yeah, that's well said. I mean, the anger and I guess the resentment too for someone who is the highest. We were just talking, we're going to talk about it soon, about the super spikes and your reluctance to use them due to that high moral standard that you want to earn these times that were set by athletes before, like your own American record of 3:54 was set before the use of the super spikes, which I just learned, which is so stunning because everyone's saying these spikes are giving a decided advantage even over 1,500 meters of 2 to 3 seconds. So we're looking forward to your comeback because you're going to be smoking some fast times, but you don't even want to use the spikes and haven't used them yet. I mean, we should jump right there to that.
Yeah. I kind of, as I was saying earlier, I'm just having like a very hard, I have a ethical line there for me. And I know everyone's wearing them now. And so it's like, okay, I'm trying to be open-minded of like, it's okay that the sport is evolving and, technology is evolving, and I maybe need to be open-minded to that and not get left behind. But it's a hard ethical line for me where it's like, if we're all kind of knowing that putting on these shoes will make us run faster, like that's not natural. And like, it's that I have a hard time, I think, with that, where it's like, okay, that's not really me anymore. If that's the difference between running 3:54 and 3:51 is just putting on a pair of shoes, like I have a hard time with that.
Yeah.
Um,
I think we all should, because we're comparing, especially in track and field. It's not the Super Bowl where they have better shoulder pads that are smaller so they can move more, but we're comparing against history and the greatest runners of all time in the all-time list.
mhm.
And now that's completely blown up, and that's rough for true fans.
Yeah.
But I would encourage you to use them, because if the 8 finalists, if there's 7 of them wearing super spikes and you're firmly against it, you're going to have to try to win the race, because that's another goal of competing too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've kind of been fighting with myself on it for sure. Like even in Doha, I feel like I was like the only one not wearing the spikes. And
That was the World Championships 2019,
Yep.
4th place right here.
That's where I did set the American record. So
And you were the only one not wearing the spikes.
yeah, at least in the top however many. I don't know, but like, yeah, and even my coach at the time, Jerry, he's just like, what if that was the difference between 4th and getting a medal? And I'm like, that's exactly why I don't want to use them, because like I don't want it to be because of the shoes I wore. I'm happy, I'm proud with the race that I ran. I felt like I did everything I could, and if it was just because of the shoes, like it is what it is. I prefer to look at it as like, oh well, maybe if I tactically ran this better, and maybe I drank more water before and was more hydrated, or like got more sleep, or like just things that I could like really control.
Yeah.
I have a hard time with it just being about the shoes. But yeah, I mean, everyone is running really fast, and I'm kind of having that ethical dilemma of like, am I just being stubborn, and like, is anyone gonna really give a crap what shoes I wore 20 years from now? And like, yeah, so I don't know. I'm having a hard time. I'm trying to see both sides.
Wow. I was thinking you're going to make a little side quip on this and move on to the next thing, but you really this is really weighting you down.
It is.
Yeah,
I'm still like really struggling with this.
Yeah.
My next step is to try to like get a pair of the shoes and like at least try them out in some strides or workouts, and like just try to get myself there, but I'm not sure yet. I haven't worn them. I did try them when they were first coming out. And I didn't love them. I don't like that you're so far off the track. I can't feel the ground. Like I'd like to dig my toes in the ground and push off, and I can't do that. So it's just, I don't like the way they feel. So I don't know. I guess time will tell. We'll see if I kind of come around, but I'm trying to be more open to it. So, I want to be able to change as the sport changes, and I don't want to be too stubborn and stuck in my ways. So I'm just trying to get myself there.
Yeah. I mean, I guess arguably the most important thing is racing, and also having a level playing field, which is why we have anti-doping and people who could ring your doorbell at any time, and everyone else who's in the elite pool. So that's what we're striving for. And, if everyone gets the shoes, which at first was really strange because some people didn't have them, like in Doha, you didn't have them. They should have like forced you to wear them so we could pick a true winner from the fan perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose I see that.
Yeah, and then like you train on all-weather track instead of cinder, I assume. And so, 40 years ago or whatever, 50, 60 years ago, they didn't have those, and that was an innovation that was the same for everybody. So I encourage you to look at it that way. But this is really interesting to compare and contrast to, like, there's still kind of people out there that are, I would call them haters, that are uninformed and like don't believe you. But it's like, in terms of your violation and you saying like you don't know how this substance, this trace amount got into your body, that's got to be heartbreaking when they don't know you and they don't believe you. But if you don't know her, how can you make a judgment like that? Especially with, just for a quick recap, I said I wanted to get into a little bit, but like you passed all these tests before, you passed all these tests right after, and you had this tiny amount that is confirmed to have no effect on your physiology. In other words, no performance benefit. So like, what's there to believe or not believe? It didn't help your performance, and you have a clean record of tons of tests. I don't know. What do you think about the haters? I mean, is that something that might fuel you to push harder on the last lap sort of thing?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Like I try not to like spend too much time or energy focusing on the haters, I guess.
Yeah.
Like I really try to like, I'm not fueled well by like anger and stuff
Okay,
like
because I
that.
mean, you also missed a chunk of your career for unjust reasons.
Yes.
And these things, we need something to drive our performance deep down, right? Um, I wanted to be recognized in middle school and high school, and I wasn't good enough to play football or basketball. So I ran my butt off so I could get attention from the girls and my peers and everything else. And so there's something in there. And this arguably could be a really beneficial thing because now you gotta prove yourself again, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I feel like you could take it and
Yeah.
use it to your advantage, hopefully.
For sure. Like
Yeah.
I'm not going to say like it doesn't like I know it's out there and like there is a little part of me that just wants to like, you know, cross the line and like throw up the middle finger. You know,
Yeah.
it's in there. Like I definitely like want to show up and like do my best.
I will pay to see that moment. That would be so
It's a
beautiful.
little part of me that like
Yeah.
just one time. I just want
It's so funny though, but like in all sports, and like we're going to talk later about how we get track more attention and all that. This is what the people do in the major sports. They do all kinds of crazy stuff, and we're too polite and modest. And we have, you know, the post-race interview where you say, "Oh, the gals were really strong today, and I was fortunate to come out on top because you're a, you know, honorable competitor." Instead of like, "Oh, those ladies, they suck. I'm going to kill them again next week." You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I would take the gloves off, and that you deserve that middle finger salute more than you remember Sebastian Coe in the '84 Olympics. Have you ever seen that video?
I haven't.
So he was world record holder, defending Olympic champion in the 1500, but then he got really sick and he missed a whole year of running. And the British system is one or two make it in the trials, and the third is selection. I think it still is today.
Okay.
And so he couldn't even run the trials, or he didn't make it in the trials. And Britain had the top three guys in the world in the 1500. Steve Cram, Steve Ovett, and Richard Elliott were the top three guys in the world.
Mhm.
And they put Coe on the team by vote rather than the trials. So they bumped the third ranked guy in the world who qualified, as we think, by a top three in the trials. And the press were up in arms. They say he didn't deserve it.
Mhm.
And he went to LA and he won the gold medal with a 3:32 Olympic record. And he crossed the line. And we got to watch this on YouTube. We'll put the link. But he crosses the line, raises his arms, and then he turns and looks up to the top seats in the Coliseum to where the press is sitting, and he saluted the British press like that. And it was so great. I mean, it might as well have been a middle finger, as it was such an extreme gesture right after crossing the line at the Olympics. But like, those guys deserved it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
he's a defending Olympic champ. He proclaimed himself fit, which I guess maybe that counts a little in the British system. I'm quite fit at the moment, but I don't want to run the trials because I got a little sore throat. So anyway, middle finger salute. I can't wait.
Yeah, we'll see if that ever happens. Like I go back and forth too, because it's just like I do want to, you know, conduct myself in a way that I'm proud of and like, you know, is respectful as well. But yeah, there's that little part of me that's like I do kind of want to just like middle finger to the haters, and yeah, whether or not that's ever going to happen, we'll see. But yeah.
Well, the track and field journalism's a very small group, and have they? Do you feel like you've been treated with open mind and fairness in that respect, or because like a commenter on Instagram has no credibility whatsoever, so I don't care about them as much as like, you know, in the big picture.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's hard. You like whether it's my case and my story or just anything right now, like there's not a lot of news sources that you can just get the undisputed facts. It's just always a part of the truth, or like this is
that's
like
true.
our opinion of the truth, and like and I have a hard time with that. Like I'm not a political person, and I would like to be more informed, but like I don't know what to trust
Right.
in our like news system. So it's like I think with the media, I have a hard time with it because most of the time they weren't even reporting the facts. Like they were just like spreading misinformation or rumors or just opinions. You know, and I think there were a few that like really were trying to like be unbiased and actually try to report what they felt like was a middle line and like factual. And I do appreciate and respect that. But a lot of the news like was just, you know, athlete blames positive test on burrito and just like there was just so much more to it than that. And it was just like, oh, let's just put out the best headline that we can to grab attention.
Yeah. It's like clickbait.
Yeah, clickbait stuff. And I don't respect that personally. Like, I think if you're a reporter or journalist, like, report the facts. Don't throw your opinion in it. People can make their own opinion and like really decide for themselves, and you should allow them the opportunity to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess the good thing is you can come back with your own voice, and that's all you have.
Yeah.
And that should be the best source.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I want to like do podcasts and interviews, and like especially now that I do feel a little more confident and secure, and I've kind of better processed everything. I feel like I can talk about it now without getting super triggered and like really having it be emotionally draining. So like I do want to, talk about it more and really like spread that awareness, and I'm always down to like, if someone's just has questions or is like kind of not sure where they fall on it, like I'm totally fine to have a conversation and like answer any questions that I can. But I think in the past it was just too raw still to like really.
Oh, I can imagine. I mean, yeah. I appreciate you doing that show in 2022 then.
Yeah,
of course. That had to be the roughest time. And I guess my next question would be, so you had this 4 years, and it happened like, in a snap, and all of a sudden unfolding is this new life that you're forced to live. And in your case, as an elite professional athlete, and a really hard training elite professional athlete, which is kind of different than someone who's not giving their entire physical energy every day, you had to recalibrate and kind of turn down all these dials that you had to turn up to make it to the highest level of sport.
Yeah.
So now you got to be chill Shelby and drive 6,000 miles in your VW bus. So maybe we could talk through that process and how you brought yourself to the new life that you were presented with.
Yeah, it was definitely not an easy process by any means. Like, I think I always felt like I had a good balance between like running and like everyday life, like my normal self and my running self. Like I wasn't all 100% dialed in all year round. I personally, like, some people can do that. I knew I couldn't do that. Like, I burned myself out. I tried to do that my first couple years as a pro, and I just would get to the championship part of the season and just like, I just want to go home. I don't want to do this. Like, so I knew that I needed to do something different. And so I would really, really dial it in only when I got to altitude camps. And I still kind of do that. But yeah, I mean, I think it was a rude awakening when, I thought I had this good balance. And in reality, like, I was a runner. Like, that was my entire identity. I didn't really know who I was without it. This was my life. I've been running since I was 5. Like, this is my life's work. I've always wanted to, run professionally, go to the Olympics, break records. This was everything that I've been working for my whole life. And all of a sudden it's just like discredited, and like I'm accused of of cheating and like not working hard, and just like, what was all that for? Like, I did everything right. I love this sport. I respect this sport. This is like my life and like my home in a way, and like my community, and like just to like be accused of being a cheater, and like it was really hard. I felt really betrayed, because I was also kind of like exiled out of my only community that I had ever had, and so yeah, that was hard. I really I only took 3 weeks off of running, and did the 6,000-mile road trip, which was awesome. I needed to just do something that felt like fun and exciting, because nothing did at the time. But I really had to rebuild myself from nothing, and like I said, I got back into running 3 weeks later just because I didn't know what else to do with myself. It was just
for mental health reasons,
just to cope with what was happening too. And I kind of decided well, I can't control what happened, but F them, you know, like they're not going to decide when my career ends.
Yeah.
I get to decide that. And like either me or my body is going to decide when my career ends, not someone that doesn't even know me and knows nothing about my character or integrity or anything like that. So I really just got back into training. I've been training throughout the whole 4 years. But it's, yeah, like you said, kind of having to turn the dials down a little bit because like I didn't want to get injured. So it's like training at like 80% rather than 100%, you know, and like really trying to focus on making myself into like an aerobic monster. That was like really the focus. So I did so much strength stuff the last 4 years, and I've been healthy the entire 4 years mostly. Like had a little knee thing last summer, but yeah, I think there was a time a couple years in where, and I've kind of said this before, but like I was not having fun with running. I was just dreading getting out the door every day, did not want to do workouts. And my boyfriend was just like, you don't have to do this. Like, just stop. Like, if it's not fun anymore, you don't have to.
There's no upcoming race.
Yeah, you're not training for anything. I was just like, I can't stop because if I stop, then I have nothing and I am no one. And I like heard myself say that and I was like, I need to go figure that out. Like, that's not the healthiest perspective. I'm obviously so reliant on this that if I stop, then I'm like, I have no worth. And is what kept me going for a lot of that time, was just that reliance. But I think once I realized that, I really like dove into therapy even more. Tried to like, okay, what else am I interested in? What other things do I have, like, am I passionate about or find fun? What are my values? And like trying to like figure out some sort of path. I ended up going back to school, getting my master's. I'm almost done. I have like 50 more hours of internships to go, but
the subject, I mean,
it's in sport and performance psychology. So I've always been fascinated.
Experience in the field that you can let's do a term paper. We're going to assign our students a term paper on something interesting in the field.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's so interesting. Like,
why don't you like take over and teach the class? If I was teaching that class, I'd be like,
I don't know if I'm super qualified.
Houlihan, come to the front, please. Okay, we're going to do the next 3 modules here. Yeah. How can you have a more profound sports and performance psychology experience than what you had?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no, you know.
Yeah, I have a lot of personal experience with it. Like, I feel like one of my biggest strengths is my mind and like the way that I think about things and a lot of the mental tools that I use. And I think it's funny. It doesn't always translate because different things work for different people. So like, I also have to be aware of my own biases of like, just because this worked for me doesn't mean it's going to work for this person. I really need to be present with them. Like, ignore my own thoughts or what's worked for me and like really find what's going to work for this person.
Like coaching someone.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, as much as that personal experience is helpful, it's also like, don't rely on that either because it might not work for someone else. But it's been really interesting. Like, I've always really been interested in the mental aspect of the sport. I think running is like 90% mental. And so it's once I kind of like made that connection of like, oh, maybe this is something that I would like. I really dove into it, went to school. I've loved learning about it and like learning about all the mental skills and these tools that, because there's this like myth of like, oh, you're either born with it or you're not, right? Like, as far as like that edge that elite athletes have, and it's like not true. Like, these are things that you can learn and you can teach other people, and that was really cool to kind of realize. But no, it's been cool. I think overall it's just the last 4 years have been so much learning and growing. Uncomfortable. It's been like very low lows, really hitting rock bottom and like trying to build myself back up and figure out who am I without running. And I've got to do like a lot of cool things. I have gone on a lot of adventures, spent so much.
We saw a balloon ride on the Instagram.
In Sedona.
That was pretty cool. Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah, it was cool. I went with my brother and his wife and my oldest sister. And
Wow.
yeah, that was super cool. So yeah, I've got to like cross a lot of bucket list items off and travel and spend more time with friends and family. And I've gotten to do a lot of things that I wouldn't normally be able to.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
feel like I tried to take advantage of the last 4 years of the time as best that I could, and try to turn a crappy situation into
Yeah.
something positive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like you got a mini glimpse of retirement because when you retire, you're going to have to reframe your self-worth and your purpose in life.
Yes.
And people have a lot of athletes have a hard time with that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a huge problem. And and that's something that I've been learning about too in my classes as well. Like this is a normal thing that a lot of athletes go through, is like getting done with something that you really spent a lot of your life doing, and then like, okay, like now what? Like, who am I without this? And that's a really hard transition to go through.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard for anyone to retire, and there's that, the actuarial tables suggest that the person dies 7 years after they retire because they lost their purpose and all that. But like as an athlete, I think it's magnified tenfold from retiring from your 37-year accounting career or whatever, because it's just there's so much exposure and measuring and judging of your worth in society and your contracts and your value. And now, oh, forget about all that, Shelby. You're, a warm-hearted person and a good friend. That's not in your brain until it's wedged in there.
Yes, exactly. No, for sure. It's hard too, because it's like, like you said, there is so much like value that and emphasis that we put on like athletes, and then you go out of the sport and like you're not this like great athlete anymore. Like maybe you'll still be that.
Still going to 403 for fun with not in a race. Take you guys on, middle finger to the winner. Yeah.
But it's just like when you're not, the running community is also like kind of small. Like once you get out into the normal world, it's like, oh, I'm no one now.
Yeah, you're not recognized at Whole Foods when you're checking out,
which is fine. I don't mind that at all. But it's humbling, I think, to like, especially realizing that the sport will continue on without you, and like it is.
So your record still stands.
Yeah, for now.
Even with people wearing springy shoes, there ain't nobody coming close.
They came really close this last year. I'm actually shocked that it wasn't broken. And
again, though, we got to say that's 3 seconds slower than your engine, and you delivered.
Who knows? Yeah.
Like in cycling, you measure the watts, right? Mm-hmm. So if we could do that in running, we could say that you put out 387 watts for 1,500 meters, equaling 354. And now the spikes give you 10-watt advantage. It's a recalibration.
Yeah. No, it's going to be interesting for sure.
I mean, it would be cool for you to break your own record.
Yeah.
With the spikes on or off, but like, who cares? You broke your own record.
For sure. And I think I do, a part of me loves that it wasn't broken.
Yeah.
Because even if it does get broken and it's not by me, like I hope that I'm at least in the race. And I think that was the hardest part. Like if I lose, that's fine.
God, what a
but like I think it's hard to sit back and watch as people run fast, break records, break my own record, and like I just have to sit and watch it, and I can't do anything, and I think that was hard. But
did you watch, or at what level did you engage?
I've watched intermittently over the last 4 years. The first year and a half, maybe 2 years, I really wasn't paying too much attention.
Did you have connecting on a friendship level with your racers and wishing them luck? Or
exactly.
Whatever,
so I would text my friends good luck on their races. I would watch like when for the Olympic trials, even right after I got banned. I'm going on this road trip, and I'm still stopping and watching my friends' races, because I like, as much as it sucks that I'm not there and I'm like grieving that, like I can still be happy for other people, and like that doesn't have to take away from either one. So that was important to me, to support my friends, watch their races, and like I'm crying after they're making Olympic teams. So I'm like so proud of them, and like so cool to see people's dreams come true, but also like a little bit crying for myself of like I should be there. But yeah, I think it's gotten easier as time has gone on to watch. I feel a little more like removed, I think, than I did a few years ago. But but it's funny. Like I was
good way or like
in a good way.
yeah.
Well, in a healthier way.
Yeah, healthy way.
I don't know if it's good or bad.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was watching pre this last year, and I don't really remember the race, but like people were running so fast, and normally I would like kind of have that mixture of emotion of like, oh, that's so cool that they're running so fast, but like I should be there, like that pang of like anger, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I've watched it this year and I didn't feel anything. I was just like,
Uh-huh.
and that was interesting because I think that kind of showed me how much I've grown as a person away from the sport.
Yeah.
Of like, this doesn't have the same amount of meaning. And I
Yeah.
think that's okay. Like,
I think it's speaking of sports and performance psychology, I think that represents the ideal competitive mentality,
mm-hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
where like, I don't think you're going to give up with 150 meters to go because you're a more balanced, well-adjusted person. You know, you're gonna be fighting to the death like you always have.
Oh yeah, it's in there.
I think if one's lifestyle can kind of get to a different level where your ego's not you, but like one's ego is not so fragile when you have a shitty workout or you, whatever happens that doesn't, you have to sit for 4 years.
Yeah.
Like if you can have strength through all that, and I measured it myself, like being happy for my friends when I flat tired out after flying to Australia and hoping I was going to compete in this big race, and then my tire's out of air, and it's like I go to the finish line and I clap and I try to get 97% smiles and feeling the energy from someone that I've trained with and worked hard and deserve it. But yeah, you're not kidding anybody if it's 100%. Like you're just happy for our 3 Americans that are going to represent in Paris. Well, you should have been one of those, and that part needs to stay there.
Yeah.
But I think we've been socialized to think that like the ultimate examples of competitive mentality are people like Kobe and Michael Jordan, where from my references and what the storytelling is, they weren't happy, balanced, healthy, well-adjusted people. Mm-hmm. They're just savage, competitors, and they won. Could they have, in a team sport, could Kobe have won more titles when he was more friendly in the locker room and more supportive of different personalities? Yeah, he could have, because he drove Shaq away because Shaq made movies in the summer, and Kobe thought he wasn't serious enough because it wasn't like him. Yeah. And you saying from your studies, like, it doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
different things work for different people.
I think your comeback's going to be interesting because you're saying it's all about the journey, and now you're like you're going to prove it because you're coming back with the same enthusiasm and all that, but also that more dimension.
Yeah, I do think, like, to what you're saying, like I do feel like a more well balanced like human. Like I spent so much time watering Shelby as a runner and just really ignoring the other parts of my life. And
watering.
Yeah, like in a way, so I think the last 4 years I've really like, I guess to continue the analogy, like watered these other areas. And so like, I just feel like more of a full, like whole person. And I'm really curious, like to see what that's going to translate to on the track. Like, is it going to be better? Is it going to be worse? Like, I don't know. I hope that it's better. I hope that it's definitely healthier.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what that translates to in terms of performance.
Well, let me ask you this then. It seems to me, at least in my career as a triathlete, which is, more extreme endurance than middle distance, like the biggest risk factor, the best way to screw things up was overtraining. And yours would be maybe overtraining and injury, right? Mm-hmm. And so how does an athlete, especially an elite athlete who's got all the knowledge and the tools and the support, how do you get overtrained or injured? Is it these ego demands and fragile self-esteem things coming up, stubbornness and all that?
Yeah.
Like, where does that come from when you know deep inside your head that you should take 3 easy days instead of 1? Maybe those things will kind of rise to the surface where you're even more sophisticated as a well-balanced human, knowing that your energy's off or your mentality's off and so forth.
For sure. Like actually listening to my body better. Like,
do you think you have room to grow there?
I think I have a lot. So,
but you're the American record holder. So, I mean, how could you, but by definition, you've done it better than anyone ever has.
I have, and I've stayed healthy, luckily. through my career. But I will say, going back to that unhealthy reliance, like my teammates would tell me how proud they were of me when I would take a day off. Like I never took days off. I had to be on my deathbed if I missed a workout. Like I have had walking pneumonia going through this like 10-mile workout, coughing up a lung in between reps. Like it was not great. And I wouldn't ever suggest anyone doing that. But that's just like that unhealthy reliance. And like, I needed to, like, there's no way in hell I was going to ever miss a workout. I literally like had to be dying in order to miss it. And it's just, yeah, I don't think, it's one of those things where it's like, I can give you advice and, oh yeah, you should definitely take the day off. Like, but I can't take my own. And even when I would take a day off, I would spend the entire day thinking like, oh, well, I could still get out for a run. Like maybe just like even a 4-mile run, like I couldn't take a day off. And so now I take days off and I'm like, hell yeah, I have a day off today. I'm going to do nothing. It's going to be great. So that perspective has definitely changed a lot. I think I listen to my body a lot better than I did before. I'm not scared not that I was scared. I just like, I didn't like missing stuff. Like I didn't like missing workouts or things like that.
Well, I mean, you don't like missing it if you think it's going to harm your prospects and your development. But now maybe you'll be convinced that your day off is what's going to get you another half-second improvement.
Exactly. I definitely have a different perspective now in that. And like, yeah, just even kind of dialing it back the last 4 years to like training at like an 80%, I was still super fit.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I don't have to, like, maybe there's a better balance because I would get to these world championships or Olympics or like just the championship part of the season kind of riding the line of like, I might break in half at any moment.
Yeah.
So like if I'm lining up at, let's say 80% health, that's like 20% that I'm giving away. So what if we just cut back? I'm 100% healthy. What is that going to look like?
Yeah.
So I think just like looking at it that way has been helpful as well.
This is interesting because if you reach the very highest level, you obviously weren't screwing things up. But, if your talent level is such that you sacrificed whatever, 1 or 2 or 3% because you did too many workouts, it seems like as you describe it, a walking pneumonia 10-mile workout is going to be literally from like exercise physiology. You're setting yourself back.
Oh, for sure.
You can't argue that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you still were able to, somehow.
I still did it. I was stubborn. I was like, I'm not going to miss a workout. Like, I'm fine. Like,
I'm fine.
Yeah. Not that I was fine, but like,
yeah.
I think I definitely have the mentality of like, I'm just going to see if I can. Like, I'm just going to start the workout, see how it goes. If I like feel horrible, then I'll stop. But like, I'm also stubborn and like, I know that I'm not going to stop unless it's like really, really bad.
Well, it's like injuries, the same thing. Like, I'm going to go warm up and see how it feels. It feels fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I was in for I had bone spur in the Achilles tendon. I had to get the laser 10x procedure to scrape the bone spur off. I stayed awake and watched it on TV. It was really fun. Okay. But I was telling the doctor, like, Doc, I limp every single morning down the hall to the bathroom, but like I warmed up and it felt fine at every workout. And I even can show my book here. It says leg felt fine after 4 times 200 and 4 times 100. So why am I in here in the surgery room? And she said, epic quote, Dr. Katie Galato, she said, the tendons fool you when they become inflamed. And I go, oh, so like I should determine my readiness to train and my state of injury resilience the first 10 steps down the hall, not after 7-minute warm-up and stretches and Benny bands.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's interesting.
But you haven't even been injured, so you're like...
no, I've had like little things here and there. Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, I've been very lucky to...
No stress fractures in your life?
I've had some stress reactions where it didn't quite get that bad, and I've caught them, stopped. I think the longest thing that I had a stress reaction in my navicular, 2019 in your
middle
foot.
of the ear? Huh?
No.
Oh, yeah, the navicular going in your foot, yeah.
And I had to take 2 weeks off cross train, and then I spent like probably 8 8 to 10 weeks, just slowly building back my
Wow.
mileage. And that's really the longest that I've had to like take off.
So you have had some slaps in the face in your career.
A
Just
little bit.
checking, just checking.
Yeah.
And like, isn't everything so programmed and orchestrated where the coach is also involved in this decision making? I mean, isn't someone going to send you home if you show up coughing up phlegm at the track?
No.
You're going to overrule?
I
mean, isn't that what the team environment and the...
I definitely should not have been around the team because obviously I'm sick, right? Like that wasn't like the smartest decision.
They're going to try to drop you.
Yeah. And I think Jerry, my coach, like at that time, he's funny. Like he is very hands off. Like he doesn't really tell you what to do. Like you're treated as a professional. Like you need to know your stuff, know your body.
Yeah.
He will give you workouts and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
So I'm deciding my weekly mileage, what I need to do every day. We're not meeting for practice every day. Like,
so he's giving you the workouts, which is the organized workout. And then you're figuring out on Wednesday what to do.
Yeah.
Because Thursday's the workout or whatever.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like very much like you own your own stuff, which I loved because I like that independence. So it's, I think, and he also has that like edge to him where it's like, if you get out too fast, it's like, hey, slow down, but like he secretly loves it, like that type of thing. Where it's like, so he'll never tell you, hey, you need to stop, you need to not do that.
Wow.
It's up to you as a professional to know your body and like make that decision. And I never wanted to, and so he never forced it. Like he'll definitely like provide his opinion of like, I don't know if you should do that.
Yeah.
But
and you don't weigh that heavily, I assume.
Yeah, but I'll
Thanks
I'll
for
do
your
what
input.
I want to do.
Thanks for your input. That's not the template. It doesn't seem like. I mean, there's a lot of other examples where it's different, right?
Yeah.
Even amongst the elites, like Mike Scannell, Arizona guy, and Grant Fisher's coach.
Okay, yeah.
You know him?
Kind of. I don't know him super well.
Yeah, but like he describes how they sat down in December and wrote the workout plan up to Paris 5,000 meters every day. And I'm like, are you kidding? I couldn't do that. I'm like, I have to go with the flow and be more intuitive with my decisions because those things I think matter a tremendous amount. But he like, it was supposedly so well thought out that the Grant was going to click in and nail every workout, which you could probably too, because of, as you described, that incredible resilience. But you're sort of in a different model where you're not locked in from every workout until Worlds.
No. And like I said earlier, like I mentally can't like be locked in all year. Like I burn myself out by doing that. So like I need to be a little more lax some of the year than other people.
And when you say lax, you're talking about maybe staying up a little extra hour, but also like
I'll go dancing on the weekends with my friends. Like maybe I'll have some drinks or like, like not be as like strict on my diet and stuff like that. Like maybe I'll order a Domino's pizza. Like I just, I need to like have a little bit of balance of like somewhat of a normal person and not this like high elite athlete all year round. Cause for me, that's not sustainable. Like I said, I burn myself out.
Yeah.
Some people can do that. Like maybe, like obviously that Grant's running so well and like that works for him. I don't like being micromanaged. So I need my independence. I need to be able to listen to my body now, especially so that I have a better idea of listening to my body or I'm doing it better. But, I definitely just give me the workouts. I'll figure out what I need to do in between that. That's worked for me and I've really enjoyed it.
But the systematic planning of the workouts and the building and the phases, those workouts are pretty carefully considered by the coach. And I assume you have some input too, or you just look at the email that comes through and it says.
I always joke like I'm a professional athlete that knows nothing about running.
Oh, yeah. Right? We use that as the poll quote in the last episode when Shelby Houlihan says, I don't know that much about running, so I just do the workout.
Exactly. And that was the same thing. I trusted Jerry. Like, obviously, he knows what he's doing. A lot of people that he's coached have run fast, and they've been some of the best athletes. So I was just like,
Schumacher is his name, Jerry Schumacher.
Jerry
He was
Schumacher.
leading the Nike Bowerman team that you were on. Is it
Exactly.
still going, or is he?
Yes,
something?
they're in Eugene now, so it
Oh.
it looks so much different
Yeah.
from when I was a part of it. But yeah, like I just trusted you know what you're doing for the workouts. Just tell me what I need to do. I'll do it as best I can, if not better.
Yeah.
And so that was always like kind of the
But
way that we
the
worked.
February workout was not as difficult as the
Yes.
peak workout for June or whatever.
Exactly. Like he's
So you
definitely like
trusted that to
yeah, I never really asked questions. I don't, and I think that's been hard training alone with and like nothing to train for because I don't really. I have a better idea of running and training and all that stuff now that I've had to do it alone, but I still don't know exactly what these workouts mean, and I don't know what shape I'm in, and like it's hard to build confidence off of that.
I don't know. That might be an advantage because, you know, if you think you
can
know
be.
everything, you become closed-minded and rigid. And I think a lot of athletes, like, whenever you see someone say, I want to regain the form I had in 2019, wait, what? No, you can't go backwards ever. So it's like you want to have a new and an improved version,
Yeah.
which that stuff may or may not work.
Yeah. I've always liked being a little more naive to it because I feel like that has allowed me to really like not limit myself as far as like what I think I'm capable of. I don't care if no one's run that time. Like, and like, you know, like I think this is what I can do based off of the training or like just how I feel. I think it's just been more freeing that I don't know as much because I think what I tend to see people that are super informed about training and like really looking at all the data, like they overthink everything, you know, and it's really debilitating.
Yeah.
And so I've always really gone on the other side of that of like, I prefer to be naive about this. I'm going to trust like just really trust my coach that he's giving me the right workouts. And that's worked for me. Like, I think that's been really, like I said, very freeing, and it hasn't, I think being naive, I haven't set any limits on what I think I can do. I just kind of like go with the flow and see how I feel, see how these paces feel and what shape I think I'm in. And that's worked.
You never know until you put on those super spikes and get in a race with people cheering. It's fascinating to think what the difference is between a solo time trial versus, you know, the pressure of a final or the expectation and all the stuff, the energy that goes into the body. I mean, I think it's got to be massive.
Yeah.
You might be the only person to really prove this as a prime time runner doing stuff on your own. I mean, I don't think people are not out there doing time trials for fun.
No, they're not fun. I don't recommend them. The time trials have been hard.
What a joy will it be when they had people in the stands to look up.
I know. It's just
and runners on the track with you. I mean, you know,
it's been hard to like get excited. Like, it's just like, okay, I'm going to do a time trial, and I'm like trying to hype myself up, but I don't feel hyped up. Like, I'm just like, okay, I'm going to go out there by myself, or maybe like my sister's going to hold a stopwatch or something, and like,
go still.
Yeah, no one like maybe we'll get my parents out there to like cheer a little bit, you know, like. So it's like, it's hard to get excited. You don't have, I feel like even in races, like the first, I don't know, definitely the first 200, if not the first 400 is just like adrenaline.
Yeah.
You don't get that at a time trial. There's no adrenaline.
You get a free 400 basically. Yeah.
So it's just, it makes it a lot harder. But I think I was still able to run pretty fast times doing it. It's just, I was also burning myself out. Like, I think the second or third year, I didn't do really any time trials because I was like, I just don't want to do those. Those do not sound exciting.
I think that's smart because we're all, like we talked about the odometer theory last time. You're getting a break. It's not chosen, but it's still a break. And I mean, there's something to be said for just becoming an aerobic machine and harnessing the competitive intensity. And then I'm also curious, like, I feel like the travel is a huge stress factor for athletes that takes away from their ultimate career progression and competitive potential. But of course, it's part of it. But I remember during COVID, like Cheptegei shattered those world records at 5 and 10,000. And it's maybe because he wasn't on the Diamond League circuit, waking up in a different time zone hotel. I don't know.
Yeah.
So your travel schedule probably diminished greatly. And
Kind
well, besides the van and well,
fun
what
travel.
was the top speed of the van?
55, I
Okay,
think.
so you did a 6,000-mile road trip, but it's really like a 7,800-mile road trip because the car only went 55. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
when are we going to get to Iowa? Jeez.
We weren't getting anywhere fast.
Just like settling all those stress factors in your life, that seems to me like this will be sort of a competitive advantage for you that's equal or better than, you're not at your chronological age peak yet anyway, but like, I don't feel like losing those years is the same because you were able to not pound the body so bad.
Yeah. And that's the perspective that I'm trying to have about it too, is like, okay, yeah, I'm 4 years older, but like I didn't spend the last 4 years competing at this high level on the borderline of getting injured. I was the healthiest I've been in like these last 4 years have been the healthiest I've been in my career. And so like, yeah, just like kind of dialing it back, still getting the training in, but taking the intensity down a little bit so I'm not riding that like sharpness line. Because I don't need to be sharp because I'm not racing. Hopefully that saved my body a bit. And
oh, of course it did.
Yeah. So I guess we'll see. But
perfect. I mean, if it was, life or death and there's a gun to your head and there's a $10 million bonus for how you're going to perform in 2025, back in 2021, this might be somewhat near the right path rather than, I'm just going to race a bunch of years and get faster. Yeah. People think that's going to happen. But like, I don't know what, Donovan Brazier's been out almost as long as you. It's, like, geez, right?
Yeah.
He's missed like 1, 2, or 3 years now from injury, right? Is he coming back? Do you know him? Like, it's so heartbreaking at the same.
I know, yeah.
Different.
I don't know him like super well. Like, yeah.
He was like world. Did he win the worlds or he won silver medal? He won the worlds in the 800. He won. 143, which was a great time before the super spikes came in. 141 is now a good time, but like then he kept getting injured.
Yeah.
I saw him at qualifying and, running a shadow of his former self, and then another dip and another. Abby Steiner looks like she's on the same path. She had the same exact surgery as I had. And I wrote her on Instagram. She didn't answer. Shelby did. Thank you. That's why I'm here. But like, I'm like, dude, this took me a year to rehab.
Yeah.
I'm an old man, granted, but like she's coming back for the trials 3 months after the surgery. I'm like, no. They cut into your Achilles tendon. What's going on here? And then she had the surgery again or something. It's terrible news.
Yeah. And that's like the hard part about the sport, right? It's like,
oh, the pressure and
the pressure. Yeah. Like you like try to get back soon. And like, just it's, I have this belief about everything. Like the best things just take time. And like, if you're gonna, get surgery or whatever, like it's if you rush it, you're gonna pay for it later, know. And like I think patience is the best thing, even if you're missing out on something at that moment. It's hard though because you're so singularly focused on like one thing and trying to get ready for it. But
well, you also have contracts and making a living involved as a professional, and so there's some there's some obligation, right? You can't just say I didn't feel like going this year to pre. And so how does that weigh in? Like, the sponsor wants you to do really well, but we know from like Allison Felix expose and all this bullshit behind the scenes where they're not really looking out for the long-term well-being of the athlete. I was shocked to learn that you lost your sponsors during your suspension. Maybe let's talk about that. Like, shouldn't the sponsor stick with you and say, okay, well, we're in this for the long haul too, and we want to support you and make sure you get the resources you need while you're not able to compete to get better and better. But they just kicked you to the curb, sort of.
Yeah. And that was, I think, like, honestly, that was really difficult, right? Like,
Did they pay your legal defense fees?
Nope, I paid everything out of pocket, yeah.
Does it seem like they should? I mean...
I don't know, like... I'm not sure, I guess. I've never like thought about whether they should or shouldn't. But
I mean,
it would be nice. It was expensive.
The New England Patriots paid for, Tom Brady's whatever surgery and whatever he needed. And I mean, come on.
I think that's where I have a hard time with it. Where if, when it's not consistent, when it's like, oh, well, if I'm just not a big enough athlete for you, you kind of pick and choose what you do. And that's and at this other on the other hand, it's like that is business though, right? Like if I'm not creating the same revenue, like I guess like should I be treated the same? I don't know. I don't have this. I get it. I don't respect it.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like it is a business, but I do think like you should value people and relationships.
If I was your sponsor, I would say, okay, well, you're going around and you're going to do 400 middle school assemblies or high school track team gatherings and tell your story and represent with all the latest clothes. So here, let me send you another jacket because you're going to the cold weather. I mean, it's so obvious that would be a huge win rather than the way they do the model now, which is like cutthroat commodity athletes.
Yeah, it is. It is pretty cutthroat, and I think that's it's hard. It's a business at the end of the day, and it's hard not to take things personally. But and
they're basically saying, take this shit personally.
Yeah,
we're cutting you.
Yeah, for sure. And it's hard. It's hard not to, right? And especially and I don't want to like bash anyone. Like I really enjoyed running for Nike my career, and they treated me well. I think it's hard when when I got banned, that was difficult because a lot of the sports marketing people, which I respect and like appreciate, they're like, hey, we believe you, we support you, but then the brand as a whole, like obviously cut out, and like that's hard, and that's not necessarily from my knowledge coming from those people. It's coming from legal department, corporate, like stuff like that.
Legal
so
department,
And so again, it comes back to like this is a business. I get it. I don't respect it.
Yeah.
But and it's hard. And there's a lot of good people at Nike. Like Paul Mosier is a guy at Nike that he was someone that checked in with me every few months the last 4 years, and I have so much like respect and appreciation for him. So it's like not everyone there is like bad or anything like that. And I'm not trying to like hold this huge grudge, but I do wish, things would have been handled differently. Obviously, but I also get the other side of that too.
Yeah. All athletic sponsorships seem to operate the same way in all companies, It's like, what can we squeeze out of you? And yeah, it's free market dynamic. But it seems like a company would be a bigger winner doing it differently. But no one's stepped up, I guess.
Yeah.
So Paul checked in with you frequently, and then as far as like your entire community, was there now like a filtration that occurred where you find out who your true friends were, and you saw some popping off from? We definitely don't have to trash talk, but like the most shocked I was when like other elite athletes popped off a little bit about your case. And I'm like, don't you understand that you could be next? We're talking about, what's 5 nanograms? Like 5 billionths of a gram?
I believe so.
Something like that.
Yeah, it's like very.
Everyone knows testing's not perfect, and athletes fall victim to this imperfect system. But then popping off as someone who should understand more than anyone else how fragile and crazy this whole thing is.
Yeah.
Probably had some feelings there going out.
Well, it's funny because like I really like took a step back from social media. I don't know who supports me and who doesn't as far as like other athletes go. Like I'm pretty blind to it, which I kind of prefer to be naive in that. So like I personally don't want to treat anyone differently based on how I think they feel about me. So my solution is to not know.
I think on behalf of all the haters, it's like the people who are strongly against doping in sport like to speak out, and that's great.
And that's fair.
But then you got thrown into the mix with the anti-doping sentiment, which is great. But like you're probably the most anti-doping athlete of all, right? And who's more anti-doping than you? Especially after all this nonsense.
Mm-hmm. No, for sure.
Yeah.
I think that's the hard part too, is like I support anti-doping. The sentiment of it, I want the sport to be clean. Screw people that decide to cheat other people out of success.
Another middle finger. We got you on the show.
But like, I think the hard part is I don't know that people are informed. I surely wasn't before this. How it what this process actually looks like when you go through it. And there's all this, like, even taking some of the, clean sport courses or whatever that we're supposed to take to have USATF memberships. They say, like, oh, well, if you decide to cheat, this is all the repercussions of this.
Traffic school type.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you could lose your reputation, this amount of money, and like let down your family and friends and all this stuff. And now that I'm reading that, I'm like, you guys aren't being honest, because this isn't if you decide to cheat. This is if you get a positive test. That this is a possibility that you lose all those things.
Glossed over.
You could decide not to cheat.
Yeah.
As in my case.
Yeah.
And this could still happen to you if you fall victim to a positive test, whether that be contamination. If you can't figure out what happened and prove that beyond a doubt, these are all the things that could happen to you. And I don't think athletes know that. I certainly did not know that. I felt like I trusted the process.
Right.
I thought that they're going to do their due diligence. There's no way I'm going to get banned for something that I did not do,
right.
did not choose to do.
Yeah.
And then I did.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think people think that this is a very, like, checks and balance, like justice, like you were kind of starting the show of, like, you think you're innocent until proven guilty. No, you are guilty unless you can prove that you're innocent. And it's hard to prove that you're innocent if you don't know what happened. How can you provide answers when you don't have the answers? It's hard. And you get notified, you have 7 days to tell them what happened. And it's like, what? Like, I don't know what happened.
I didn't know that. You have a time clock on your mounting your case?
Exactly.
It's like Judge Judy or something.
Hurry up, I got another
hard. I don't think people really are aware of what this process looks like if you get caught up in it, if you get contamination or whatever it is. And I think that's where I'm having a hard time with these anti-doping agencies, where I agree with the mission, but the testing's also getting a lot more sensitive. There are getting contamination positives. You're getting more positives that maybe aren't, like, they're false positives, but you're not accounting for that. And it's still, the 100% burden is still on the athlete. And you're acting like, this is my science, this is truth. That's not the case.
Which is not disputed either. It's not your opinion.
Yeah.
It's known that it's not true.
Yeah.
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 They're making inferences. I don't know the exact. I just read your friend messaged me on Instagram about how nandrolone could be excreted under stress and all these things. You know what I'm talking about?
Jordan. Yeah.
Yeah, Jordan. Yeah. And it's like, Jordan, did you tell Shelby this at the time of her hearings? It's like, I found this stuff later.
Yeah.
And it's like, if this is out there, it's so imperfect of a test that it seems like if you do test positive, that's when you desperately need WADA's help to help you work through this problem.
Yeah.
Because you're part of the anti-doping movement.
Yeah.
And instead they said, like,
you're really on
you got 7 days.
Yeah. It's up to you and your legal team to figure out what happened and give us an answer. And then, it's not as straightforward as we want it to be. I don't think the system as it is how it should be. It's not at all what I thought it was. So,
yeah,
and
I wonder why not.
Yeah.
Because, of course, everyone's against doping, including the people who work for WADA and USADA, but, like, why is it so backward?
Yeah, and we should not be jeopardizing careers of athletes that didn't choose to cheat just to, like, try to catch the people that are. You know, like, there should be more of a checks and balance system, because there is no repercussions for these organizations that get it wrong. Like, the athlete suffers. If these organizations get it wrong and they ban someone that didn't choose to cheat, nothing happens to them.
The whole system it crumbles, though.
Yeah, no,
it does.
And it is hard, because I want to be able to trust this system.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to trust that, they're doing the right things and doing it in the right way. And, like, now every time I see someone that had a positive test or someone get banned, I'm just like, is that the case? Like
Yeah, right.
now, like,
Yeah.
like I don't
Yeah.
trust anything, and that's hard. I don't want to be in that position either.
Yeah, well, I'm like super gullible, and I strongly believe that Lance Armstrong was clean because I know him very well and how hard he trains and how much more talented he is than all the other riders. But of course, I didn't know that all 200 athletes were doping, and that's when I changed my mind. But it stood to reason that I'm like, no, this guy is the best guy. That's why he's winning. It's not because he's cheating. And we talked about this a little bit too. Like the word cheating, I would put into play when you're getting an unfair advantage. But if like the entire sport is dirty, then the sport is cheating the public viewer, trying to pass it off as a clean sport.
Yeah.
No, all these guys are doped off their asses and they're going to climb the mountain really fast. Do you want to watch? Yeah, sure. Do you want to go to the baseball game and watch Barry Bonds? Yeah, sure. I don't care. But like, oh, now we have this clean sport. And then, it almost seems like we need an all-powerful decider to do this on a case-by-case subjective basis. And if some glitch comes into play like yours, let's suspend you for a month.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it wasn't your fault and you got bad luck, but guess what? Watch out where you shop for your food or whatever. Go home now and let me give you a slap on the wrist. That's what you deserve, right?
Yeah.
Even though it was unlucky.
No.
Let's just do it.
Yeah.
Sha'Carri? Oh, she got high because she was struggling from a personal health crisis, which happens to be legal in most states. Okay, you got a month suspension. That kind of sucked because she missed the Olympics. But like, it seems like, why don't we match the penalty?
Mm-hmm.
And if you miss a whereabouts, you get fined $500. If you miss 3, then you're in big trouble. But like, let's make it sensible instead of just this huge thing. But I think if we had the third person at the chair representing WADA, they'd be like, no, you don't understand. We have to come down with an iron hand as a deterrent. No, you don't. The deterrent's massive now.
Yeah.
Mo Katir just lost $1 million or $2 million or whatever he lost. That's enough deterrent to not be an idiot or get your ass out of the sport because you're cheating. Not to pick on Mo Katir, but he missed 3 whereabouts violations, which is hard to understand how it's, this is life and death matter of your career. And you have to we should explain, like, what's the whereabouts thing all about?
Yeah, it's just like you provide an hour window where, hey, I will be at this place for an hour every single day.
Every single day. You're texting in or logging in.
Yeah, you can like plan it ahead. Like it doesn't. You don't have to. Like,
you're going to be here. You're going to be here for a week.
This is where I'm going to be. This is when I'm traveling. All this stuff. You just have to kind of provide a whereabout of like where you will be every single day, so that they can find you to test you. So yeah, and you get 3 strikes if you can miss. Yeah, on the third time that you like just miss a test, then that results in a violation.
Yeah. Oh, so they actually show up and you missed them.
Yes.
So that's a violation. Yes. So it happens 3 times.
Yeah.
So you told them
you told them that this is where I'm going to be, but then you're not there.
Yeah.
Then you like obviously missed the test. So that you can't do that 3 times.
So here we are now. You're free to race. And we talked about like that shift in mindset and that adopting a healthier perspective where you're not living and dying by your running, and it's your self-esteem and your self-worth. Now you're going to be sort of lured into the same world that you existed in, and they had such a wonderful payoff for you since 5 years old. Do you think about that? And do you have like a strategy, a plan? Like, hey, what if you get your butt kicked in the first race because you're not sharp, and then you go home and deal with certain things?
Yeah, it's interesting because, to say the least,
it's super interesting because few people have ever experienced it.
Yeah, it's kind of like retiring and becoming
care. Yeah,
and I think it's hard because I like being a part of Bowerman before all of this, and like. I loved it. I loved running. I loved my team. I loved the coach. Like, it's like, I had so much fun. Running was so fun. I loved every single part of it. I loved the process. And after everything that's happened, I know that it might not look like it did before. Like, I'm coming back, but it's different. And I'm hoping that it's still fun and that I love every single part of it. I don't know if that's going to happen. So it's like, in some ways I've found myself like, again, like even now, like grieving what was and having to like really let that go and like come into this with a new mindset of like, this is not going to look like it did before. And I need to be okay with that. Hopefully, like, even if it looks different, it's still gonna like still be fun and I'm gonna love it. But I don't know. It's interesting, and it's all a process. So yeah, my first race back, I might get my butt kicked, and like who knows, and that's fine. I think just getting back out there and really like getting back into racing, getting the rust off. It's like it's always a process, So it's like if I lose my first race back, my first however many races back or whatever, I'm getting my butt kicked. Like that doesn't mean that that's how that's going to go forever.
Yeah, I think you have a slight a little bit of security there that if you're time trialing, what was your recent one in 2024?
The last time trials I did were in March. In 2024, I ran. I ran 2:03 in the 800 and then 4:02.
So for those of you unfamiliar with track times, it's unlikely that you're going to be bringing up the rear in any race. Yeah. These are world-class times in a time trial without the spikes. So it's like getting in a pace line and having that, advantage where fast times are run. It's like night and day difference from, I've done practice efforts myself, and it's like, of course it's a joke compared to when you get in the race. Yeah. Oh yeah, you're gonna crush it.
I hope so. Yeah. I'm really interested. I'm trying to come in with no expectations. I'm just gonna let it be what it is, and it might not be fun at first, like realistically. I'm trying not to like really have too many expectations about it.
What do you think, like, you think about like a crowd response, and does that mean something to you? Do you have an expectation of that, or a fear perhaps? Like,
yeah, there's definitely fears there for sure. Like how I'm going to be received. I've never had to step on the line and like get booed before, So like, and maybe that's not going to happen, but like there's a reality that might. So it's just kind of like trying to mentally prepare myself. I can't control how people are going to react to me, but I get to control how I respond to it.
Yeah.
I feel prepared. We'll see when I'm actually in that position, how that's going to feel. But my hope is that I've always been very good once I step on the line of tuning everything out.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I hope that I'm still just able to tune it all out and just go and get in my zone and do what I do best,
Yeah.
We'll see.
I have a comforting quote for you from Josh Kerr.
Oh, okay.
I just heard it on the way here, podcast. He was talking about the haters and the fans' opinions and whatever the rivalry with the Jakob and he and all this stuff. And he said, look, Sydney McLaughlin has haters, like a significant opinion thrown out with frequency that she doesn't race often enough. And it's like, okay, for those of you not familiar with her, she's the greatest hurdler of all time. She's one of the transcendent track and field athletes you've ever seen in the world. And how can you ask for more than just she keeps shattering the world record, and people are not happy with her. And so like I thought about that. And it blew me away, because it's like, what else do you need to say? Well, it's like, if someone boos you from the crowd, it's like, hi.
Yeah.
You flip them off 5 times in a row. If you're watching on camera, that's my comment for waving my entire hand. Yeah, that's what I do on the road. I don't want to get into road rage incidents, so I flip them off 5 times in a row with my whole hand. So like, if Sydney has haters, hey.
Yeah, and that's the reality, is everyone's always going to have an opinion, and in today's age of social media, everyone thinks that their opinion needs to be voiced.
That has value.
Everyone's opinion now has value, and like, that's kind of the reality. Is just like everyone's gonna feel whatever they feel, and honestly, like the people that do reach out to like spread hate and negativity, like that says more about that person than it ever will about me.
Yeah.
So like that's kind of the stance that I try to have.
Yeah, and we all say that when asked about it, but I think like there's still some sting deep down. But I even wonder, like when you mentioned, during your suspension and you felt like all this value was taken away from you, I'm wondering, like, still, when you went to sleep at night, you didn't cheat, you have the highest moral standards, you worked hard and earned everything you got. And does it like kind of wash that away no matter how big the noise gets?
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard, like
That's like sports psychology. You should probably go study some. Oh, you did? Oh, okay, she got a master's.
It was really helpful.
Yeah, that's a great answer. It's a great answer.
No, yeah, it's sometimes I feel very secure in that, and it's, I know myself, I feel confident in who I am and my character and integrity. My dogs are playing.
The dogs agree with that statement too.
But sometimes it's hard to, like, especially in those moments where it just feels all very heavy and you're like not feeling confident and like just things aren't going well. It's hard to like really feel that and like feel confident in it. And I definitely still have moments, especially as like I'm coming back and, I'm dealing with people being vocal again about like how they feel about me and like trying to get sponsorships, trying to get into races. On the low days, it's hard and it feels defeating. And it's just like, it kind of just goes back to like, I don't deserve any of this. And this sucks. Like, I can't do anything about this. I know I don't deserve it. And I'm still having to deal with it. And that's hard. Those days are hard. But there is that other side of like, on the good days, I am confident and I am secure and it's fine. And the first couple of years, I'd say I would read some of those negative messages and they'd sit with me for 5 days. I would just ruin my day, like ruin my week. And now I read.
You're going to say I had like stupid ass typos and stuff.
Yeah, it didn't matter, right? Like no one likes reading that stuff.
Yeah.
It does sting, but I think I was kind of remarking the other day, I've noticed how much I've grown the last 4 years because now I read those comments and it brushes off in 5 seconds. Yeah. Like I don't hold on to them. Yeah. And so that feels good. Just to not. Yeah.
It's how getting older.
Oh, right.
Serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if there's any, it sucks with the recovery times extended. Like you can't even believe how long when you're almost 60 like me. But like, I think part of getting older is just realizing, the insignificance of a lot of things that we dramatize throughout our lives, not to say your stuff is insignificant and the nonsense that's gone on, but like you're going to work through it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
So you talked about your team environment. Maybe you can explain, like, especially in terms of middle distance, long distance, the elites are a lot of times grouping up into a quote unquote team, which is often sponsored by one sponsor, but also like these training meccas like Flagstaff or Boulder, Colorado or whatever. And so it's not like, you see the person's city when they line up on the starting line, but really it's kind of like, it's sort of a team sport in that way.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, tell us about the status of that. You talked about how the Bowerman Club was great and you had Jerry guiding other elite athletes too, but like, how's that looking for the future? Yeah. The present, excuse me. Yeah. Don't say future. It's now. The future is now, people. She's heard the future 27,000 times in 4 years. Okay.
For sure. No,
this show is airing in January of 2025.
It's still pretty undecided. Like transparently, I am so sick of training alone. Like I really would like to be a part of a team, have people consistently around me to work out with and run with and just have fun again. Because that's really like what makes the sport most fun for me is just like doing it with my friends.
Yeah.
That community aspect. So right now I'm still training alone, which is like sad. I was hoping, to have a team around me by now. And that's,
but I think, can't you text Jakob and say, hey, are you doing 20 times 400? Can I do the first 10?
I don't think we can.
Aren't those things around Flagstaff, especially?
Yeah, for sure.
And you see people at the track, right?
Yeah.
But it's not like the recreational athlete that says, hey, let's go for a jog. You got to do 8 times 400 with this and this.
Yeah.
And so it is kind of difficult to
It's hard to find training partners for sure.
It's also hard to find when you're this freaking fast because there's not many. Well, I mean, there's probably some Division I guys you could jump in with, right? I mean,
I think
can you go with NAU and run with the?
Yeah, I mean, I can, at this point I can train with anyone that would like to train with me.
Oh, what about before? Like, could you go and mix with a college running team and do a workout or something?
No.
You can't go back to ASU where there's a statue in front of the track and say, "Hey, I'm Shelby's here. We're going to run with her." No, that was forbidden.
It goes back to like kind of those like gray rules where it's like it can't be a part of like a USATF sponsored thing. I tried to like really only work out with people that had like. And this maybe only happened like a handful of times that I did get an opportunity to work out with people, but it was like, a friend that has nothing to do with running anymore. He's just kind of like in shape, so like no USATF membership, like nothing, like just, so it was really like trying to make sure I'm following these rules, but again, not definitively knowing what the rules are. So like, I didn't want to work out with college athletes because I just like wasn't sure.
Now you're free to join any team or anything, and you're looking at some options, or how does it look? I mean,
it's still all up in the air. I like I said, like if I want to go join Bowerman, I need a Nike sponsorship, right? Or like if I want to, NAZ Elite has a Hoka, like they're sponsored by Hoka, or like stuff like that. So it's like you need a shoe sponsorship to join these teams typically. And so I just been waiting on the shoes.
I mean, is that an informal deal, or can you come over to the On Running Club and where's it, Boulder or something?
Yeah.
And say, "Hey, I'm the American record holder. Can I join you guys?"
I mean, I'm not really sure. Like, I think it would also depend on like what if the team wants me to, work out with them. Like, I don't know.
Who would not want you to work out with them? I mean, who does not want?
I don't know. I guess you'd probably be surprised. I don't know, but like,
I mean, some of it's like dynamics, right?
Yeah, some people just like don't want the association, which
no,
again is disappointing, but I get it.
No, I wouldn't want to work out with those people anyway if they're that stupid. But I mean, sometimes you don't want someone who's going to be. You don't want to train against maybe the number 2 American female because you might push each other too hard or something like that.
I personally wouldn't have a problem with that. Like and that's one thing I really loved about Bowerman is I feel like we had such a good team dynamic. Like Carissa is my like one of my best friends, and like I genuinely, it was that type of like atmosphere. It was like we pushed each other like to our limits, but also like very much supported each other.
Yeah, and Alicia Schweitzer.
Yes, yeah, exactly.
Elite runner.
Yeah,
world finalist, Olympic finalist. Yeah,
and it is hard to find that sometimes, especially at these higher levels, because people have egos and like stuff like that. And
what about the sponsors? Are they like the shoe sponsors don't mix in some cases, or
what do you mean?
Like at On Running, every single person on the team is an On
athlete. Yeah, I believe so. I mean, there are some groups I think that aren't like specifically sponsored by a shoe company that you can kind of jump in. There's not a lot of them. You kind of like need a shoe sponsor to like join some of these groups. So it's hard.
And are you like, is this an effort now? Are you like seeking sponsors? Are they seeking you, or what is it like?
Yeah, I have an agent. So Paul Doyle, he's taking care of all that, and like so I don't have to like really do any of the legwork.
So he'll present you with, hey, do you want to go to Canada and train in the winter in Alberta? No thanks. Whatever's coming.
Well, yeah, it is more so like the sponsorship stuff, right? Yeah. So it's like kind of, hey, stop. Trying to find shoe sponsorships, and that's kind of, I don't know, it's hard. Like I've definitely had discussions with or like we've had talks with some of these companies, and just nothing's come to fruition up until this point. And so I'm just hoping that, I'll go out and hopefully run fast, and maybe that'll just even give me more leverage. So I'm trying to see it as a blessing in disguise that nothing's happened yet.
If you shoe sponsors are listening, now's your chance to,
Get me on.
get a bargain price, because I'm feeling like a third middle finger is ready when all these people are going to now make you an offer after you win nationals or something. It's like, yeah, you're going to pay, because I think it'd be a great gesture right now.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Paluva's trying to sponsor you, but these aren't really for track and running fast times. But that's interesting. I mean, someone's going to be regretting that they didn't sign you in January of 2025, because you're going to sign with one company and everyone else missed out. It's so obvious. Like,
yeah, I mean, that's the hope, right? Like, I hope I won't have to
paying
go.
like college champions big money now,
Yeah.
right? 6-figure contracts, but you're still unsigned.
Yep, still unsigned right now. Yeah, hopefully I don't have to go through the entire 2025 season unsigned.
No chance.
No
chance of that.
I guess we'll see, but yeah, I mean, it's hard, and it is. I do understand the other side of that, where it's like, unfortunately, like, I come with some baggage, I suppose, is the best way to put that.
Well,
in terms of the public eye.
I talked to you before we hit record. I said, I'm predicting your future career is you're going to be a corporate motivational speaker. Not kidding.
Yeah.
Like, the baggage is this incredibly rich background and this perseverance and resilience through this, ups and downs of your career. It's an incredible story. And I guess, it'll be nice to see you running those fast times again, even though you already are with no cameras on. But that'll kind of bring it full circle in the public eye.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, your future's, I think it's your destiny, that this story is so much value to so many people, more so than like, Shelby won again, and then the next year I won again. I have all these medals like Michael Phelps. I got 27 golds. Now that's like, all right, great. Where did Michael Phelps end up? He ended up at the Meadows. Not to be, juicy here, but if he was sitting here, he'd say the same. That it's no guarantee of anything, especially being well balanced and resilient and have a healthy perspective. So
yeah.
Now my other question is, why is the shoe company such the centerpiece of track and field? Why aren't you also, entertaining offers from sunglass company, food, clothing, whatever?
Yeah. No, that's a great question, and I should be. Yeah. No, that's the short answer. Is that's kind of like the next step is like, okay, if I can't get a shoe sponsorship right now, like, there's a lot of other avenues that I can kind of go down, and that's the next step, is trying to figure out what those are. Like, I ran a fast beer mile a couple years ago, so like, maybe I got to get a beer sponsor.
Just the beer companies, Tell us about that. So this was it was like a super organized event, the World Championships, right? But you were allowed to run it because there was no USAT red coats there.
No,
but this is like a huge thing in running. If you're not familiar with the beer mile, like, people do it as a thing. It's a thing. Okay, what happened? How did you get in there?
Yeah, no, they approached me and asked me if that was something that, like, you want to come do the World Champs beer
First
mile?
question's like, do you like beer? Yes. Do you?
Well, it's funny because I was actually like, I have been kind of wanting to try to do the beer mile for a long time. And I saw like the women's record, I call it naive optimism. Maybe it's just arrogance. I don't know. But it's just like, I was looking, I was like, I think I could do that. Like, I've never done one before, but I think I could do that,
Well, let's see. We know how fast you run the mile. So now you got to time yourself drinking.
Yeah.
Every lap you drink?
Every lap you drink.
This is gnarly.
One beer a lap.
A beer, like an actual beer.
Yes, a 12-ounce beer. Yes. So, and yeah, you start off drinking a beer, run a lap.
You start before start?
You start.
Oh, the gun goes off and you drink. It's like the deadlift challenge.
Exactly. Yeah. And so you're drinking 4 beers and running 4 laps. And you're trying to see, you can't run while you're drinking.
Well, that's not like fair, because you weigh 100 and something pounds.
Yeah.
You have to drink 4 beers just like the big tank.
Yeah. Absolutely.
All right.
I'm here for it.
All right.
But yeah, no, so they asked me if I wanted to do it, and I had already kind of like wanted to. I thought it would be fun, but I think also it was just talking to my sister. She was like, I think this would be a good way for you, because I had a lot of anxiety around running the running community at that point. And she was like, I think this will be a good way for you to kind of just like dip your toe back into the running community in like a really like non-serious, fun way.
Oh, it's serious. Say non-serious. This is a world championships.
Yeah, but like exactly. So it's just like it's just a smaller community, just a way to like put yourself back in without it being too scary.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I chose to do it. It was like, it sounds fun. It sounds something I'm excited about. And I think it'll be good for me to like really put myself back out there. And it was awesome. I loved it. It was so much fun. Ended up running, I think, like 5:43 and
5:43.
set the record.
World record.
Yeah, yeah.
Did you shatter the old record? What was the old record?
I think it was, I don't know. I'm not sure. Like 16, like 6 minutes and like maybe 13 or something, or I don't know what it was.
So, I mean, to drink a beer, you have to swallow, you have to like finish it, or there's some rules, right?
Yes.
You can't pour it over your head.
No.
So like to drink a beer's got to take what, 15 seconds at least, or what?
This is like crazy. The guys are so fast about it.
What do the elites do?
It is like watching some of those top guys like Corey Belmore and like they
household names in the beer
so good. I'm like, this is one of the most impressive things I've ever seen in my whole life. Like they're consistently chugging these beers in like 6 to 7 seconds. And then like
6
running
to 7 seconds.
Yeah.
That's just like open throat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. I can't do that. I can get like around 12 to 15 seconds on my first one, and then the other ones are like more like 20-ish. So I could definitely improve on my chug time.
There's a minute right there.
Yeah.
And another 15. And you ran a 5:43.
Mm-hmm.
So you ran a 420 pace, you think?
Oh, I'm not sure. I don't know. I'm not.
Plus you got beer and you're sloshing around with it.
Oh, yeah. By the third lap, you're like definitely starting.
It's a 12-ounce beer?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's 48 ounces.
Mm-hmm.
You just gained 4 pounds. It's 3 pounds.
Bro.
Right? Yeah, a gallon's 8 pounds or 7 pounds. Yeah.
It's a very fun.
It's a great performance.
Thank you. It was fun.
That's not that record's going to stand for a long time.
Well, I hope I can break it.
Yeah. I mean, that might not fit into your busy schedule.
Well, I'll make them fit. I actually like do kind of like want to keep doing them because they're fun and like it's a new challenge. So like I feel like in running, I really know how to push myself to that line without like where's the line where I think I can hold it and I might die, I might not die.
Yeah.
Right. And with the beer mile,
you might puke, might not puke.
Yeah, the line is just, you don't know where the line is. So it's like trying to figure out how fast can I run without putting myself over the edge where I'm going to throw up. I'm not sure where that's at yet. So it's like, I think there's a lot of room to improve because at that point, I don't.
Oh, you're conservative.
That was the first one I had ever done.
You did one in practice?
I did 3 practice ones every single Sunday leading up to that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Where was this event?
The world champs were in Chicago.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was like up in Park City at 8,000 feet doing my own practice beer miles, just running back and forth on this road.
Wow.
Yeah, that was the only way I knew how to like maybe prepare for it. But I think there's a lot of room to improve there. And at some point, like, this is just me and my wild dreams that I would like to do. I think it'd be cool to try to break 5 minutes in the beer mile. I don't know if that's possible. I don't know if that's going to happen, but that's kind of like my ultimate goal. I think that would be cool. Obviously there's a lot of steps that need to happen before I would get that there. But yeah, I don't know. I think I enjoy it. I think it's fun. It's a cool community.
That and winning some Olympic and world championship medals. So throw them all in with the goals, throw them in the mix them around.
Yeah.
So let's talk about 2025. You're probably plotting your season. I want to ask you what you think about this Grand Slam track, new venture, and it's gotten a lot of attention, putting in some big money into the sport, which is great to see. I have some reservations about some of the formatting and some of the stuff I don't think is that necessary, but any money going to the athletes is great. And then we have the female event that was put on by Ohanian, the female track meet, Serena Williams' husband.
I don't know.
In New York.
I'm not sure.
Athena?
I don't know. Yeah. Like I said,
it was a huge
meet in New York closely.
Where they had huge prize money. And it was at the end of the season.
Oh, that's cool.
I think they won a diamond tiara and $50,000, the winner of each event, or some crazy thing.
Dang, that's super cool.
You didn't even hear of this?
No, I have.
Hey, you better put that on your schedule.
Yeah, this is prime example number one. Like I've kind of been following the sport, but I've muted like all running accounts on my Instagram or like stuff like that. So like I don't get a lot of the news. Like
It
I'm
was
yeah.
Alexis Ohanian's the founder of Reddit, and his wife is Serena Williams, and he got interested in track, and he went to some of the meets. He said, "I'm going to put on a meet."
That's
They had
very
this
cool.
incredible meet in New York. It was only females. Yeah,
Very cool.
Athlos. What was it called, Mia? You don't remember that meet? It was on TV. They did a good job. You'll be looking it up and
Okay.
jumping in.
Yeah.
But of course, you've heard of Grand Slam track.
I have heard of that one.
Yeah.
I don't know much about it. I've heard of it. I get
the racers. She doesn't know much about it, so watch out if you're one of those people that sign. But they signed up like four
there's like
four raters, and then they're gonna have challengers, and you try to knock off the people who are the four designated athletes that they signed to contracts.
Gotcha.
And there's 4 cities, I think, starting out.
Okay.
But huge prize money again, $60,000 to the winner of the races. One race. That's like dwarfs.
That's awesome.
Diamond League. What are the world payouts for world championships? Or it's like 30 or 40 for a gold medal or something. It's kind of embarrassing.
Too far removed. I'm not sure.
Find out when you start collecting the checks and paying taxes on them. Yeah. Her first glimpse will be at her meeting with her accountant. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So you've just heard about it, but are you thinking of participating or any of that stuff?
I've not like heard any interest in me. So as of right now, no, I'm not participating in those.
What about other meets? Don't you have to line some of that stuff up now?
Yeah, I'm trying to. It's hard because like again, I'm not part of a group. I don't have like an actual coach right now.
Well,
and typically
doing that, right?
Yeah, like he's trying to like kind of figure things out. But like like typically in the past, Jerry would just be like, "Okay, these are the meets we're running at," and I'd be like, "Cool."
Right.
And that was it. I didn't have to do
coaching.
anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like he would kind of structure the workouts around those.
Yeah.
I never did anything. If anything, I was like, oh, like, but what about Drake relays? Like stuff like that. But yeah, so I think now that I'm having to create my own racing schedule. I don't know. I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting. There's nothing like set right now, really.
This is a good year to come back.
Yeah. So
the money thrown at the sport is insane right now.
Yeah.
This Grand Slam track is like a $30 million commitment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, that would be cool to be a part of. As of right now, I'm not in the, it's fine. I think overall though, it's like good for the sport. Just to get more eyes on it, get more money to the athletes, stuff like that. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. I'm open to it. If people want me to race it, that'd be awesome, but
and so the big goals would be there's Worlds this year, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
In Tokyo.
Tokyo.
Full circle moment.
All right. So Tokyo was where the 2021 Olympics were that we were looking forward to seeing you race. You were preparing, you were at the top of the world, and you missed that Olympics. Yeah.
Yeah. So
let's go back to Tokyo and
that's the plan. Right. That's the hope, right? I hope to get back there. That's like the big goal for my season. I'd like to make that Tokyo team and try to go medal. So we'll see.
And if some of this stuff is I want to ask you about, because there seems to be so much waiting on these championship meets, and then you saw Thing Mo. I don't know if you saw, but if track fans remember, she's the best in the world, and she gets tripped on the first lap of the 800. It's over. Yeah,
I broke for her.
Dang, I kind of wish at least there's more championships now, and so there's something to look forward to. But like certain misfortunes, like an injury, can kind of create huge disappointment. Mm-hmm. But I also wonder, like, how much importance do you place on, let's say, beating your PR and breaking the American record, or getting to 350, which is this amazing barrier that now has been broken by females in the 1500. Oh, and then also like talk about your events. Like, are you mainly 1500? Do you think 5 is going to be your thing, or what are you going to? The Grand Slam track, you have to run 800, 1500.
Yeah,
you have to.
Yeah, and I kind of like that idea. Like,
I Shelby 800 on Instagram because you left the 800.
Well, that's because I started running the 800.
Shelby 800 Instagram.
Yeah,
some very interesting posts there.
I grew up running the 800.
Oh, okay.
So that's when I made that account, I was running the 800, and it's just stuck over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's still good to honor your roots, right? So
for sure, yeah.
But no, I mean, I don't know. I really want to stay in the 15, and I just want to find out if I'm still competitive there, if I can run faster. I think I can.
We already found out, sister. You timed her, right?
Yeah.
We already know. It's not a.
We'll see, but yeah, I would like to stay in the 15, and if I'm not competitive there, I think probably my best events are going to be in the 5K and 10K. Like, I just am one of those athletes that I love the uncomfortable grind type of pain, which I think the 10K is pretty well known for. So,
well,
we'll see.
As we know now, like, it really helps your chances when you're a 354 or 1500 person to go run the 10K.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like it's your future looks bright because you can move up distance, which it seems to be a pattern as athletes age throughout their career. Do you ever is that a given, or do you think this? I always wonder, like, oh, they're getting older, they're going to move up to the marathon. Yeah. It's like, why? Yeah. Justin Gatlin made world semifinals at age 40 in the 100. So,
oh, that's actually like I was having this conversation with my boyfriend a few days ago about this. Where there's this like concept of like, oh, as you get older, you get slower, and I'm like, I don't know if that's like, I get maybe it's like kind of true, but like. Yeah, Justin Gatlin, like, I mean, you might get like marginally slower, but it's like a lot of the time I feel like people tell themselves that, and like that's just kind of what happens because they're focusing more on those longer distances.
Yeah.
They're stepping away from the speed aspect.
Yeah.
And like, if you're only focusing on these slower paces, of course you're going to get slower. Like, just that's how training works, right? So it's like, but if you're constantly still trying to do these faster speed workouts, work on your speed, I don't know that that's necessarily true.
Good.
And like,
all right,
I have no scientific background in this, so like, take what I say for a grain of salt. But this is just like how I feel about it. Like, I don't think it's as big of a thing as people want to make it out to be. I think I can still run fast at 32 years of age in the 1500. Hopefully I can break 350. I don't know. I'm going to try to find out, but I don't know that you have to get slower. I think that's just like a mindset that we've adopted and like accepted for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's possibly in the old days where the body wasn't taken care of enough and there wasn't, the holistic approach, and maybe the training was more brutal, that you can't handle that high impact workout anymore. But I mean, Justin Gatlin made the world finals at 40. So it's nonsense for an athlete who extends their career. LeBron James is still flying through the air and dunking at 38. So,
yeah. I think it's just really about how well you take care of your body and what you're doing to help you do that, and if you're not taking care of your body, you're not getting in the gym, you're doing all like kind of like missing all of these other aspects that keep you healthy, then of course, like, I think the longer you do this high impact sport, it's gonna deteriorate your body. That's kind of like a given, but you got to take care of yourself.
Do you think middle distance is more injurious than like marathon training necessarily, or?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm not sure, honestly.
I know we should look at the stats.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not even something to look at, because it's like any athlete who gets injured, I think, made a mistake, right?
Yeah, and I think a lot of times, and again, this is all just my own opinion. I had nothing to like really back this up. This is just how I feel about it. But I think a lot of people do too much for marathon training. Like, I don't know that you have to run 120, 130 miles a week. Like, I think I could probably run a fairly fast marathon running my 80 to 90 miles a week.
Ryan Hall, are you listening?
Know.
You're here in Flagstaff. Hey, Ryan, listen. Yeah, I mean, he told this whole story of how he destroyed his body and had to retire at 32 or something.
Yeah.
Because he overtrained his ass off.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, again, I don't know. I've never run a marathon. So this is just like me talking out of my ass, but like I do think it's one of those things where I still think when people go to the marathon, they just start doing these slower paces and they stop doing speed. but I think speed's important because like the faster if your all out mile is like 450 and your race pace is 520, like that's hard. But if your all out mile is like 420 and you're trying to run 520, that's going to make 520 feel like a lot easier.
Yeah.
So I think there's like I don't know. And again, I don't know what I'm talking about, but this is just what I feel like makes the most sense. I think people shy away from speed too much when they start training for the marathon.
Yeah. I mean, you don't know what you're talking about, but you're sitting on the American record. And actually, Arthur Lydiard, 60 years ago, you know him, the original pioneer of, the greatest breakthrough in long distance training. His quote was, "The whole essence is to get strong enough so you don't slow down from." In other words, it's like it's not working on your speed; it's working on your strength, so that your speed can still show on the last 200 meters of the 1500.
Yeah,
and the marathon's so fast now. I mean, the girl's running 209, so we're not going to see a girl with a PR of 443 be competing, right? Or whatever.
Yeah.
209 is it's like 448 itself.
I have no idea.
Oh my goodness.
That's insane. That's very insane. Yeah.
So before we let you go, thanks for spending all the time. I know you're in a heavy training altitude camp here, but I'd love to breeze through like what a week's training pattern is like for an elite athlete and what you do and how many times you're going to the gym or to massage or red light therapy. We just got a gift for here, hand me that thing. I want to put it on the video. Here's our gift for our podcast guest from Mito Red Light, sponsoring the podcast and sponsoring great athletes, hopefully.
Super excited. Yeah, my weekly training, it kind of like varies for sure, but Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and usually like Saturday, would be more easy running days, and those would be like 10 miles. Easy.
Does that have a range based on how you feel, or
sometimes?
Yeah, I mean, is it a tight range? Is it between 3 and 10, or 4 and 12, or 8 and 10?
It's like probably more like 8. Between 8 and 10.
And what kind of pace?
Whatever I need to run. So like if that's 8-minute pace, then it's 8-minute pace. If I just feel good and it's 7:15s, like I try to like really listen to my body as far as easy runs go.
Oh, so that's easy.
Yeah.
You're saying that's easy. So those 4 days are like your easy?
Those are my easy days.
Yeah. So an 8-minute pace for 10 miles is easy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you talking about here at 7,500 feet sea elevation?
Yeah.
Okay. So my frequent podcast listeners know I talk about training. I talk about heart rate and monitoring your aerobic heart rate. So easy for you and me would be a brisk walk, and easy for elite athlete is 10 miles at 8-minute pace at 7,500 feet elevation.
Something like that. It depends on the athlete.
And then I heard you say hope and try many times in the show that you're going to hope and try to run fast.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to Vegas right after this, or the Indian casino nearby, and put money. I mean, that's like, this is an aerobic machine talking here.
Yeah.
But the important thing to take away is like, it isn't easy.
Yeah.
It's not, you're not like coming back and putting your feet up and feeling torched. It's just like a morning outing.
Yeah.
Can the Dachshunds make it? The miniature Dachshunds make it?
I've not
8
tried.
8 miles at 7,500 feet?
I have not tried. They have a lot of energy, so they're all running around. They might make it a half mile, but I've never tried to.
Okay, so that's 4 days a week, kind of a similar easy day pattern where you're out there.
One of those days, instead of doing maybe a 10-mile day, if like mileage wise I'm okay, I might try to go more like a 6-mile day and like actually have an easy day. I've contemplating putting in maybe just taking it off and doing a cross training day, but I haven't done that yet. But yeah, then Tuesdays and Fridays typically are workout days. So Tuesday I'll typically do right now I'll do like a strength workout, which will be anywhere from like 8 to 10 miles of work plus a warm up and cool down. And then Friday workout would be more like something specific or speed. And so that's more hitting like those specific race paces.
On the track.
On the track.
Yeah.
Yep.
What's an example of a session?
Well, there was one that was on track all access that we.
Oh yeah, what is that? I saw you can
Go
go to the
essentially-
YouTube site and you can watch your workout.
Yeah, I did a workout.
Yeah,
And
what
FlowTrack's going to come out with one soon.
All right.
So like for that one, for example, I did essentially 30 by 300. It was a lot.
30
Yeah.
by
so,
300
Yep.
at a pace, at a decent
So
pace.
the first, I did 15 at 51, 52 with 30-second jog.
Okay, if you need a
100
training
meters.
partner, that's so funny you're talking 300s because I can join you for 3 or 4
Yeah.
at 51, no problem. I'll do 49.
That would
I'll
be
do
helpful.
50.
Yeah.
And then, okay, that was 3 or 4, and then you got 26 to go.
Yes.
Okay.
So
I'll go down to Whole Foods and
There's
get
a
me a
lot.
recovery smoothie for the 26.
yeah, it was
30 times 300.
Yeah, it was broken up. So I did 15, and in between, there's a 100 jog in 30 seconds. So you're really just,
That's it?
yep.
That's the break?
That's the rest. And then 5 minutes rest. And then I did 10 by 300 with the same 100 jog rest in 30 seconds. And I did that in around 50. And then 5 minutes rest. And then I did 5 by 300 for the last little set. Same rest, 100 jog in 30 seconds. And that was more like 48, 49. And I think the last one was.
Are you putting me on right now?
No.
Are you joking?
You can go watch it.
That seems superhuman.
I
Is that a standard elite workout? Can people do that?
Yeah.
You weren't like cooked at the end?
No, I mean,
That's 9,000. That's 9,000 meters?
yeah.
That's like
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that was, I think,
It's 5.5.
yeah, I know. I wouldn't
of-
I wouldn't recommend anyone just going out and doing that. Like, you have to also,
You finish that and you're okay and you
Yeah,
feel
it was
like,
okay.
all right, I can't wait till my next workout.
I mean, I was definitely tired. I just ran 9,000 meters of work. Like, I could
Is
feel that in my
this
body.
is not at 7,500 feet,
Yeah.
please.
No, it was in Sedona. So it was at
It's still,
4,500.
you feel it a little bit in Sedona? Yeah, a little. Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd go 1 or 2 seconds faster if you did the same workout in Phoenix or something.
Maybe.
I
don't know.
guess. I mean, it's just-
I try not to like really alter my paces at
Yeah.
altitude. Like, what I'm doing at sea level, I try to do it at altitude.
just ignore all that.
I might take more rest, that kind
Okay.
of thing, but
Wait, were the other sections? I know we're getting into the weeds with the running and the workout, but it's interesting, like that short recovery for all those.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll remain silent and just keep talking. Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
so, like,
and
that
then
was
the 8 to 10 miles of work, would this be like out on the trail or hills or just like long?
Sometimes it might be on the road or like a bike path.
Yeah.
But that would be like, I'm trying to think. It would be like mile repeats or something like that with like maybe a minute rest.
A minute rest.
Yeah, short rest.
So this be considered like a threshold session where you're bumping up right there to
Yep.
what's
Yeah.
called anaerobic threshold, which is mildly uncomfortable, but it's not like a race pace where you're really tired after one rep. You're just kind of revving this engine up to
Just
threshold.
slowly, you're just getting tired as it goes. So like
Yeah.
a classic workout that we used to do would be like this was one of my favorite workouts, was like a 4-mile tempo and then 4 by mile. So like a 4-mile tempo at 5:20 pace.
Which,
and then-
let's say threshold, I would
Mhm.
somewhere around there.
Yeah, and then like 6 minutes, and then we do like 4 by mile with, I don't know, 90 seconds, I think it was, and we would start at like 5:15, 5:10, 5:05, 5 flat, like something like that. That would be a
By that time, you're probably past your threshold, I would assume, trying to do it 5
towards
flat.
the end, I would assume. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So that's just like kind of a race prep to keep pushing when you're tired from 4, 5, 6, 7 miles hard, and then the last one.
yeah.
And is this the time of year where you're kind of emphasizing more of these longer strength workouts? Are you going to go do like some quick 200s to prepare for your 1500 something?
Yeah, I probably need to. No, so like, yeah, a lot of the, like a strength workout like that, like I do a lot of those things in the fall to like kind of prep and build strength for the whole season.
Yeah.
As it gets more towards like a racing type of season, or like that portion of the season, it's gonna be more like, let's do some raw speed. Or I guess like the 30 by 300, like that was that goal, like 3K pace, right? It's like
Yeah.
you're running 68s, 69s
Yeah.
pace down to the last set was around 64
Uh-huh.
pace.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's definitely more of a specific session, and that's trying to sharpen it up a little bit more. So the workouts changed as you get closer to racing, and it becomes more about hitting these goal race paces. In the fall, it's just like, let's just do tempos and thresholds, and like, maybe we'll do some like speed endurance.
And so, like, day to day, when you wake up the next morning after doing 30 times 300 with a 100-meter jogs, decent pace at that pace, do you feel beat up? You wake up with a bounce in your step and head out and run 10 miles? Is there any fluctuation in like your energy and even, I guess, accordant, like your motivation, or I don't know, just do you have some days where you're cooked out, or a weekend where you're on the couch a lot, or how does this impact your life, sort of?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely like will get out the door after a session like that, and like a lot of the time, like I'll feel tired, and those are days.
The next morning.
Yeah, the next morning, and those are days where I will just run 8-minute pace or whatever my body needs to run. Right,
Okay.
I'll get the miles in.
Yeah.
And then the rest of the day, I will actually just sit on the couch and watch TV. Like I will.
Yeah.
I really try to emphasize recovering and like letting my body rest, not doing, I try to be mindful of how much stress I'm putting on myself. So like, even if I'm, doing interviews or doing like calling people, or like, that's still stress. Like your body doesn't like really identify between like physical stress and like emotional stress. Right. So it's like, I really try to focus on just actually relaxing, not putting any more additional stress on my body, trying to recover as best that I can. Maybe I'll Normatec.
Those are the compression boots.
The compression boots.
Okay. It's like you see in the hospital for surgical patients. They put them on their legs so they don't clot up. So it's sending blood to your legs. Feels great.
Just circulating the blood. Yeah. So it's a lot of it is emphasizing just getting in good recovery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you read the New York Times profile on Jakob Ingebrigtsen a couple of years ago?
Mm-mm.
He was talking about how he's been coming to Flagstaff for many years, right?
Yeah.
And at the time, he was like 17 or 18 in the profile. And he was bringing his continuation work, his remote study work to Flagstaff, because he'd come for 6 weeks. He's still in high school, trying to get his thing. And his quote was like, "Yeah, I stopped bringing my books to Flagstaff."
Oh, gosh.
Because he didn't want to divert the energy to studying.
Yeah.
And so he just put it off.
Yeah.
Like his high school GED or whatever, like it's still hanging in the balance because he's trying to be number one. But it's such a profound insight. And I learned that too from triathlon. Like you have to be horizontal or eating or sleeping. And those are those marginal gains. It's like, yeah, you run a lot of mileage and all that, but like it goes hand in hand. You can't put the 10 in and go work at Whole Foods in a shift, or it's gonna. But
yeah, and people do that, and honestly, like I have mad respect for people that have jobs and still try to do their thing. Like,
incredible.
That was insanely hard to do.
Yeah,
and I do have the luxury of I get to just go sit on the couch all day and do nothing. And like even going back to school, like that's been a stressor, and I have felt that for sure with the training. Like I feel exhausted emotionally, physically, just like drained. And it's funny, like I was doing some internship camps for my school, and I'd have to fly out to LA, and we'd work with a couple groups and just practice. And it would be like an 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. shift.
Ooh.
And this is the first time I'm really like doing something like that.
You're on your feet more than 20 minutes at a time.
I'd have to get up at 5 a.m., get my run in, and then go hang out and like work for 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And I'd get home absolutely exhausted. I'm just like, how do people do this? Like, how do people train at a high level and have jobs? And like, I don't have a family to go home to. Like, if you have kids to go home to, like, insane. I had mad props, mad respect for that.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And it definitely put a lot of things into perspective, I think, for sure. And I have a newly found appreciation for that. It's funny, like my boyfriend would always come home from work, and like I'm obviously been like sitting on the couch hanging out all day. I'm like, let's go do something. And he's just like, I'm exhausted, and I never understood it. And now he's like laughing at me. He's like, okay, yeah, you get it now. Like to some degree, right? It's being aware of the stress that you are putting on yourself, whether that's emotionally, physically, whatever. Like it does take a toll.
Yeah. And I think it's a great phase of life. I have fond memories of I had 9 years for being on the pro circuit and dedicating everything. And it's like, I don't think you'll want to do it forever. And
Yeah.
there'll be a time when you sort of like want to branch out, or you feel like you've reached your peak or whatever it is that you do. But like, it's a great way to live, because you inspire so many people running those fast times, and also just putting in this work and like having this dedication to peak performance. It's like moving humanity further. That's what a record is, right?
Yeah.
Like every female runner in this country is looking at the standard is now set, and it's going to be broken, but for this time that you've held it, which is a long ass time actually, and then you're going to go break your own record.
I hope so.
That's fantastic. Shelby Houlihan back on the track pretty soon. Where are we going to see you first? Do we have any inkling of when we're coming back?
I'm going to open up with a 3K February 1st in Arkansas. So soon.
Arkansas.
Yeah, I just want to get
indoor or outdoor?
Indoor.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I just want to get a low key meet, try to like get the rust off, shake the nerves out. And then I'd like to do a mile at BU on February 8th.
That's another indoor.
Yeah. And then I would like to do US indoors.
That's to
try to qualify for World
Spokane or something? Or?
It's in New York.
Oh, US indoors in New York, and then where's the Worlds?
In China.
Oh, in China. Okay, so you're dedicating for indoors.
I'm trying.
All right.
We'll see.
All right. We'll be watching you. Thank you so much for the great interview. Super interesting. Thanks for listening, watching, everybody. Go check out Shelbo800 at Instagram. And that's a wrap.
Yeah, thank you.